Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Grownmannerisms, Season 2. Grown mannerisms being fluid with the currents of life. This is our first episode of 2021. And of course, I'm your host, John.
I'm Ever.
I'm Mia.
So I got the kids with me today. And, you know, to kind of start the year off, we kind of want to talk about 2020. And we know 2020 has been a hard year socially, economically, and globally. So everyone has, you know, trauma stories or negative stories about how 2020 has impacted them. So what we decided to do today is have a conversation about the great things that happened in 2020 because some people have used this opportunity to start a business or just go through some any type of personal and professional growth in a lot of different spaces in a lot of different ways. So I think we want to focus and highlight that because I think we all have the same horror stories about the negative side of 2020. And so the first question or the first thing we're going to say was, what was your most memorable moment of 2020? And I'll start. For me, it was maybe Biden winning an election. Like that's really like the first thing that popped in my mind, and not because, you know, I think he's the greatest thing, but just the joy around the country when he won. It was like I got a chance to go to Delaware when he gave his inauguration speech, and I kind of feel like people was almost celebrating Trump losing more than they were celebrating Biden winning. But just the way the country had such a bad year because of Corona and all of these things and people struggling, it was just like to shift from that to just the joy I seen people running around the streets celebrating. People was just happy all of a sudden, like everything's going to be okay. Like it was just like it went from hopelessness to everybody just feeling like yay all of a sudden. So I think that was like one of the things that was most memorable and stood out to me about 2020.
The most memorable thing that stood out for me in 2020 was all the black people coming together and fighting for their rights and stuff, and standing up for each other. That was what was memorable for me in 2020.
That's actually a really good point because through all the things that happened prior to Corona and then at the beginning of Corona, before we even knew how long it was going to last, there was a lot of galvanizing of the whole diaspora, of what's considered a black space, what's not, what's acceptable, what's not, how we move forward, and how we, can keep ourselves from not being systematically oppressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, seeing like the boost in black-owned businesses and supporting black-owned businesses, and still seeing black people get into medical school, go to nursing school even during a pandemic, and having to do online, and them still graduating, still becoming doctors and scientists.
Yeah, like that was actually like a lot of people stayed on task, and stayed on, not only stayed on task, but they flourished in their task. So I actually think that is also another. That was two great points about 2020 memorabilia.
And now it's kind of like this movement where like black-owned business only. Like I only support black-owned businesses.
That's something that you
farmers market, people finding black-owned farmers markets and stuff like that.
That's actually good because I don't even pay attention to how often we don't pay attention because now I do pay so much attention. Mm-hmm. Like when I was buying Christmas gifts, I was like, when I would look for something, I would just be like, is it a black person that owns this shop? Yeah. Or like, so that is actually something that really stood out in 2020. And I think it's a change that's going to happen moving forward. Mm-hmm. And I think part of it was because especially when like the retail companies shut down, a lot of people didn't want to support the big names anymore. So they had to find like little shops and things like that, or people that was maybe doing business inside their homes or just online, and you supporting people that you know or people that you're familiar with or just people in your community. And I think that's something that's going to, even when outside do open back up, even when we can't go outside again, I think it's something that's going to continue forward because now everybody's in the habit of not necessarily supporting brands but supporting the community. Yeah, and I think that's a dope thing. let's talk about growth. How do you feel like you personally have grown in 2020? And I mean, I'll start again because I know that this year has been a tough year for everybody globally, universally. But ironically, this probably has been the best year of my life because of the growth that I've attained. Like, finding that balance, like spiritually, mentally, emotionally. In those three phases, I'm probably the most healthiest I've ever been. Physically, I feel maybe it's probably times in my life, especially when I was younger, where I felt better physically. But I'm not. So I'm probably not at my most physical peak. But as far as everything being balanced, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, I feel the most solid and strong and balanced that I've ever had, and that literally came from me being able to look at what's going on around me, but spend a lot of time analyzing and being self-reflective on how I can improve myself or better myself to elevate into a better position. You know what I'm saying?
Things that help me grow, or something that I grew. Wait, what was the question again?
Yeah, you going.
Something that helped me grow in 2020 was like just coming home and then like having to stay home because of the virus. So like
Come home from where?
like school and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, having to stay home. I don't really know.
How do you feel like school, the experience of living on campus and living away from home for the first time and then coming back? How did school help you grow? And then by the time you came home, you acted or you saw things differently?
Yeah, leaving home actually did help me grow because I felt like I felt like me and my mother were always like together, or I was always home. So even when I left, I was never away for 3 months at a time. So leaving and going to school definitely did help me grow and stuff. Helped me like wash clothes by myself, cook and stuff by myself. Even though I always knew how to do those things, my mother always would do them. So what was the point? What was the point of me doing them?
You got Cinderella doing it while you gotta do it. Kizzy and your mama.
Right.
For me, so two things. One was kind of like finding my purpose and everything. Like everything I've been through, I think in May, like when I started my podcast, like a little bit before that, I kind of was like...
The Luminescence podcast. Find it on wherever you get your podcast. Quick little plug there.
Yeah, I kind of just found my purpose and like got in alignment with myself, and also kind of being in the moment, because you know I'm a super planner, I'm a super overachiever, so and if things don't go my way, I'll have like a whole meltdown. So I kind of had to just like be in the moment and think about what exactly am I supposed to be doing right now, instead of thinking like 5 years down the road.
And I want to say, like, both of y'all's answers were really good, and I can just say, like, that I'm proud of both of y'all in the spaces that y'all in, because I, like, obviously, because I've seen y'all grow, it's been gradual, but I don't know what's the difference with college, but, the fact that...
It's a different world.
Yeah, so it's like, even though, obviously, I've seen y'all from newborns to infants to toddlers to adolescents, blah, blah, blah. But, like, for some reason this year, it's been a lot of, like, y'all are adults. And y'all adults that I admire and respect because y'all both, somebody mentioned to me before, like, we all make mistakes and we all, have our flaws. But they was just like, yo, me and Mira is good. Like, as far as, like, kids. They don't never hear me say anything negative about y'all, like, or that I had like problems, or that, you know what I mean? It's never like I'm pulling my hair out, like, yo, Mia just did this and Mira did that, or I'm trying to help Mira with this or Mira with that. Like, y'all are very, very self-aware and self-reliant. You know what I'm saying? And I think in the communication, like, especially like, me and you talking, when you would call me and talk about, what you did in class or the paper you had in class, and just bouncing ideas off of you and having those conversations. It wasn't like, I'm talking to one of my kids. It's like I'm talking to somebody who like a casual person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then even with you, like even listening to your podcast, the podcast that you did, not the last one, the one before that. And
Boundaries.
Boundaries. That like I let other people listen to it, like people in their 30s and 40s, and they was just like, yo, I felt like she was talking to me, you know? So that level of growth that you both displayed without any input, you get what I'm saying? Because it's all naturally who you both are, and that is something that's very, very like, you know, made me proud. You know what I'm saying? Because when Mira would do her videos, like, you know what I mean, when you talk,
do those again.
yeah, just uplifting people and like those, but it was good because you know what I'm saying. You didn't have to necessarily go through. Sometimes it people make it seem like you have to go through the fire to have the wisdom. Not saying we all haven't been through things, but I'm just saying like the things you were elevating people to do wasn't things necessarily that you suffered from. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of like, no, this is what I see. Y'all don't need to do this, or this is not the way to go. You know what I'm saying? So to motivate people and to uplift people and not come from a judgmental space with it, when you haven't had the effects or the addictions that other people have had, that's a very good. Now you have seen it and you've been exposed to it in other ways, but you personally didn't suffer. So to process that and to elevate people in that space in a non-judgmental way is very, very admirable, and that takes a lot of insight that a lot of people don't have. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that actually leads into what I like. So what do you think? What are you most proud of about 2020? Like, what are the things that have made you the most proud, excited, or you know what I mean, whatever? I already know what you're gonna say.
Let me see.
Highlight of the year. Trash year.
My most proud moment in 2020.
You need more time to think about it?
Yeah.
I think I kind of said mine. Not, and that was the most proud moment that I've had is seeing y'all in the spaces that y'all in, and Onyx, you know, growing at such a tremendous rate. And I think one of the things that I'm most proud of with her as well is even though she's not even 2 yet, you know, and I had her, and everywhere she goes, people light up. Like she's like an instant burst of positive energy to wherever she's around. And I've had her around people that not necessarily people, and they're not necessarily baby people. They actually don't like babies or other people kids, but they love her. I've seen her engage with people that, you know, don't engage with anybody, and she just picks that person out of a crowd and just be like, she pick up a Christmas ball, and then instead of bringing it to me, it's just kind of like, oh, let me take it to this person. And it's the one person in the room that, and it's kind of like, here you go. You know what I'm saying? And it's just natural for her. And I just sit there sometimes and I watch her interact with people, or I watch how people interact when she's around. I've seen people have arguments, and then like in a supermarket, just two people having an argument, and then we just come by in the cart, and they look and it's like, oh my God, that's such a cute baby. And it's like they stop their argument to acknowledge it. So I think just seeing all of y'all, and then Raheem, Raya, Nana, LJ, like all of y'all, like the way y'all two are already grown, but the way the rest of them are growing, that has been my proudest moment of 2020.
My proudest moment of 2020 has to be passing my my major or whatever with the good grade.
Oh yeah.
So, you know.
That's it. You know, light work.
My proudest moment of 2020 was graduating.
Yeah, sure.
2 degrees.
And that's on period.
2 dub.
The pandemic.
2 dub. Double majored up. Double time. Double up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said that so casually. Cool. Like, yeah, 2 majors. I got it. So what? You know, but that is a great accomplishment. And also to that, like, you did that, you know, so you were so dedicated. You know what I'm saying? And it's easy to finish something when you have people on your back hounding you to do it. It's harder to do things when the only pressure is self pressure.
And I'm an overachiever. So.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's easy for you to do it when you know if you don't, you're gonna get in trouble or somebody gonna yell at you. Yeah. So when you have to do it and when you hit that wall, knowing that you can technically just be like, you know what, I don't want to do this no more, and I can come home. You know what I'm saying? And then you did it for both of y'all. You went the furthest south you could go in Maryland, and you went the furthest north you could go and still be in Maryland. Y'all was on both on opposite ends of the state, but you know, that was something that was also very, very telling about your dedication to what you want and your passion about what you want. And so that transitions into 2021. Like, do you feel like the things that has happened this year, the things that you have done this year, is that a building block for anything for 2021? Obviously, we don't know still how the pandemic gonna go. Or do you have, was 2020 anything that happened in 2020? Is it just like, all right, that was 2020, but in 2021 I'm doing this? Is it a continuation of what you already been doing, or is it you feel like now I'm about to take it somewhere else?
I feel like it's kind of both. I feel like personally, 2021 is a new year. I can carry relationships, but as far as like my career, my growth is a continuation into the next year.
What about you?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's both too. I'm currently right now looking for like a more like sports-based school or whatever, like, or like a more sports-based program or whatever, because right now I'm supposed to be appealing my school, but I don't really want to go back because I don't really feel like I always pass my sports classes. I always pass all my classes, but I don't feel like, what's the word? Like, satisfied.
That's a good word. That's actually the word I was gonna go with.
Or whatever. So I want to go to like a more like sports-based school or like a more sports-based area or whatever, or like find an internship or something. So I don't feel like I'm wasting my mother's money.
Or do you feel like the school doesn't challenge you enough, or do you feel like it's not going to do enough to propel you where you want to go?
I feel like it may like hinder me from actually like achieving fully what I can actually do. I feel like the sports program is a good program. Like, I always pass all the classes, but other than that, I enjoy the school, but I don't really see a lot of black people. So I want to be surrounded by my own kind too.
Those are HBCU.
Yeah, I mean that I think that's the common thing that we've said throughout this, is that the togetherness that this pandemic has brought amongst the black community. And I know for me, I think 2021 is more about building upon the things that I found as far as my passions. I think sometimes you get so wrapped up in responsibility. I know me. I got so wrapped up in doing what I had to do that I didn't take much time to say, what do I want to do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I always did what I wanted to do, like socially, like outside in the street or wherever I decided to be at. I did what I wanted to do, but there was always a responsibility that made me feel like I couldn't follow the things I was passionate about, which is writing or, you know what I mean, those type of things. And sometimes to pursue your passions, you might have to take a step back stability-wise, because it might require, you know, sacrificing a particular job, you know what I'm saying? Or I realized working 10 hours a day, you know what I mean, even though I have a good job and I actually like my job is actually, you know, working 10 hours a day is fine, and this was keeping, you know, the family, you know, supported, but it's also a hindrance to the things that I want to do for myself. So maybe instead of working 10 hours, can I find a way to work, you know, instead of working 50 hours a week, can I take it to 42? Or even if I'm still at 50, how can I maximize my time better to make sure that every hour, every moment counts, but as well as balance it out with enough time to just chill and enjoy watching Onyx grow up. Enjoy, like, I don't want to miss those moments. I know sometimes at my job, a lot of the, I hear a lot that they work a lot to provide for their kids, which is fine but for me, I'm just like, I'd rather work less and spend more time with my kid. You know what I'm saying? She don't care how much the rent is. She don't care. Of course, I want to have her in a good neighborhood, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want me to be walking in the house. There's been days where I left out the house before she woke up, and I got back in the house right before she went to sleep. So it's literally been days that I only spend like 10 minutes out of the day with her. You know what I'm saying? It's like I didn't see her before I left, and then when I come home, it's like I'm walking in the door at 8:30. I pick up and she falls asleep as soon as I pick up, and it's like 8:45. So I was like, damn, 15 minutes. So I think for me, 2021 is just identifying my priorities and maximizing my time that I hit every priority, every responsibility, but also every passion that I have. And that's what I see going forward for 2020. However this year play out, hopefully it's all a better year collectively for the masses. Like I said, I think for me personally, it's been a great year, and not to take away from the pain that everybody else felt. I'm just saying, like, I feel empathetic and sympathetic to everyone that has been suffering, but I've been fortunate enough to still be able to work and provide, but also to have personal growth and to begin pursuing my passions in a positive way. That's a lot of P's. But anyway, purpose, finding your purpose, which is another P. And staying prayed up always. But yeah, so that's it, man. Y'all got anything else that y'all want to mention? Anything else y'all want to say?
No.
That's it? All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. This has been another episode of Grownmannerisms, staying fluid with the currents of life. I'm your host, John.
Mira.
Yeah.
Signing off. Peace. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope y'all were safe. And let's have a great 2021. You know what I mean?